Lorne Michaels's week started off with a tea party and a death threat. The death threat wasn't aimed at him, but at Jimmy Fallon, the host of The Tonight Show, which Michaels executive produces. The tea party was in honor of his friend, the playwright Tom Stoppard. After that, in his office on the 17th floor of 30 Rockefeller Plaza, he would preside over the first meeting for that week's episode of Saturday Night Live. "I was just at a lovely tea at the Lotos Club for Tom Stoppard," Michaels said, standing in his office, addressing a handful of his senior producers and writers who had gathered for a preliminary meeting to troubleshoot the coming week and take a moment to check in. "It was very civilized, in contrast to this." He swiveled his head around to indicate present company and gave a mild smirk. It was 5:45 on Monday, October 29th, 2018, and in 15 minutes, the weekly writers' meeting, the official kickoff to every episode of SNL, would start. Monday, Michaels likes to say, is a day of redemption, a fresh start after spending Sunday brooding over Saturday night's mistakes. On his tombstone, he says will be the word uneven. Jonah Hill, the week's guest host, would soon be greeted by the show's 27 writers and 16 cast members, who would all squeeze into Lorne's office. Everyone in the business refers to him by his first name, like Madonna or Fidel, to pitch ideas for sketches. The goal is to make the host feel supported, like one of the gang. "At that point, you're more worried about them bolting than anything else," Michaels told me. The following 6 days would be punishing, physically and mentally, and would culminate in a live broadcast on Saturday night at 11:30, done with no net, before a worldwide audience of 6 million. Tina Fey, who worked on the show for a decade, says, "You don't say yes to that hosting job if you're not up for trying something insane." Over the years, performers have compared the experience of doing SNL to jumping out of an airplane, Fey, serving in the Marine Corps, Jan Hooks, and being in a comedy emergency room, Amy Poehler. One of Michaels's most repeated lines is, "We don't go on because we're ready. We go on because it's 11:30. The tea party for Stoppard earlier that day, held at one of the city's more elegant private clubs, was the kind of cafe society affair with a highbrow sheen that Michaels enjoys. A phrase he uses often is, "the high end of smart." And he likes to say, "If I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room." The cucumber sandwiches and champagne with such guests as Tina Brown and Rupert Murdoch had been a reprieve from a savage couple of weeks. Just hours before the party, he'd huddled at 30 Rock with FBI agents, who had paid a visit to Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show offices on the 6th floor because Fallon's name turned up on a list of targets of a Florida man arrested for mailing pipe bombs to a dozen people who had been critical of President Donald Trump. On top of the death threat, Fallon was being attacked for having performed in blackface on SNL decades earlier. Michaels advised him not to engage. Doing so would only feed the internet trolls. Michaels had been blasted in the press, too. Taron Killam, a former cast member who used to play Donald Trump, had recently complained on a podcast that Michaels always insisted that he make Trump likable, and the story wouldn't go away. One of Michaels's core comedy tenets is that every impersonation should contain a speck of humanity or charm to make the character relatable. Playing a character from hate, he'll say, isn't funny. He often quotes Elaine May, "When in doubt, seduce."
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for